All right, how's this for a number? The top 20% of income earners, pay 90% of all federal income taxes. Political prospect editor Kayleigh McEnany joins us now from Miami. All right, Kayleigh, the top 20% pays for everything. They pay 90% of all the income tax money that flows into the feds. Do you think, you millennials, do you know this? Do you care?
I don't think it's the top issue on their radar, Stuart. I really don't. And what's interesting is millennials, depending on how you ask them the question, they answer differently. So a right-leaning think tank said, would you prefer reducing spending or raising taxes to satiate the budget, our deficit? And they said, by 65%, I support reducing spending. Meanwhile, a left-leaning think tank said, do you support raising taxes on the rich for economic fairness? By 56%, they said, yes, I do support that. So you get very different answers depending on how you frame the question.
But I don't think many people, millennials included, know that such a narrow group of people pays for everything. I mean, the top 20% pays well over 90% of all federal income tax. I just don't think people know that at this point.
No, you're absolutely right about that. In fact, I had a conversation this weekend with a millennial, and I said, what are your thoughts on raising taxes on the rich? And he said, well, they're not paying enough. And I said, well, are you aware of how much they pay? Do you know that the top marginal rate is 39.6%? Then in a state like New York, you have city and state taxes, which brings that rate to 55%. He was startled. And then I added on to that and said, in pre-Reagan, that rate was 70%. And he looked at me, he didn't believe me. In fact, I had to look it up to prove it to him that this is, in fact, the number that people are paying. So I think you're absolutely right. It's an awareness problem.
But do the young college people who are going to get out in the world fairly soon, when they see this coming at them, I mean, they've got to repay their student loans. A lot of people are really in the hole with that one. And then, if they get a really good job and do really well, they've got to pay this confiscatory tax regime. I mean, it just seems to me that that whole thing, taxing the rich, hasn't sunk in to millennials and what it really means in the future. Which means, I don't think their votes have been converted from the left to the right.
That's very true. And my generation is the most educated generation. You have people becoming doctors. You have people becoming lawyers. You have people who will have that nice paycheck right out of college, you know, perhaps a six-figure paycheck. And they will be startled when they see the amount of taxes that come out of it. And even, Stuart, even if you're not making that amount of money, you still feel it. I remember when the payroll tax increased, I saw an extra $20 come out of my paycheck. I noticed that. Millennials noticed it. So I think you're right. When they enter the workforce, they're going to see something and be pretty surprised by it.
You're going to be a lawyer, aren't you?
I am. That's right.
Are you already a lawyer?
I'm not already a lawyer. However, I have submitted my application to the Florida bar, so the first step is done, and I will soon be there, presumably.
Just out of interest, what area of the law are you going to go into?
Constitutional law. It's my favorite. I love it. In fact, land use regulation, ensuring that people can keep their land. The government can't come in and use eminent domain to take their land away. That's my primary area of interest. So,
have you been following the Nevada rancher story?
I have, a little bit, and it's really quite startling. You know, you don't feel like you're looking at America, a democracy, when you see the police, you know, honing in on individuals, on ranchers like that. It's really a sad scene.
You make sure you tell your millennial friends what's going on in America, okay?
I always do, Stuart.
Kayleigh, thanks for joining us. We will see you again very soon. Gotcha.